much for hanging on. Now, we were actually talking about fundraise happening at a time when there is a slowdown of sorts. There's a funding crunch in the ecosystem. But how resilient are you in the midst of a slowdown? You have just raised funds, but considering that there are serious cost burns also in the business, how resilient are you?
So I think, ma'am, at BluSmart, our burns are extremely low. And from a BluSmart perspective, we have today about close to, with the new fundraise, we have close to about 400 crores plus in our bank account, and our burn rate is sub 5 crores a month. So we have absolutely very small burn rates which are there. So based on what money we have in the bank, we have easily enough money for the next 80 odd months. There is not a, we are actually, this most of the money is going to get used to for capex into cars, capex into charging infrastructure, and very little of this is going towards burn money. Hence, I think from a BluSmart perspective, not this fundraise puts us absolutely into the dock for very high performance and very high growth.
Very high performance and very high growth, you say. But, how critically are you looking at fares and, building partnerships as far as the EV ecosystem is concerned with other auto brands?
So I think we have a very good partnership with Tata Motors. We have also started in a small way with MG also. We have inducted about 50 to 70 MG ZS EVs into our fleet. We have a good partnership which is forming with BYD. All across the value chain, we are extremely excited about the new launches which are happening in the market. So in the EV eco space, so I think with all possible OEMs, given the large size of procurement that BluSmart does of electric vehicles, I think we are partners with almost everyone in the market, and we are extremely happy that we are able to deploy more and more EVs onto Indian roads.
All right. So you seem to be really building on the ride cancellation piece, and considering that you claim that there are no cancellations on your platform, there's no surge pricing either, something that really ails the other ride-hailing apps, actually Ola and Uber. So how else do you plan to beat competition, especially considering that Ola and Uber are established players and they're also pushing for electrification? So in this sort of a market, where do you place yourself in the next few years?
I think the customer needs very simple things. Customer just needs clean cars, on-time cars, no cancellation and no surge price. I think what at BluSmart we have mastered is these four things: no cancellation, no surge, clean cars, great driver partners. And I don't think the Indian consumer is looking forward to anything else apart from this. So from that perspective, we are very sorted. The product that we have has great acceptance. Today, we have about 600,000 customers who come to the app on a monthly basis. So these are very large numbers of people who have already started to use us, and very large number of people who are giving us a lot of trips. I think we just need to keep on maintaining the quality standards that we have. If the car is clean, comes on time, without cancellation, without surge pricing, I think the Indian customer is delighted, and that's what we want to continue to do.
And you have a strong feedback mechanism also as far as the car quality and cancellation and surge pricing, all of these factors are concerned?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question, ma'am.
What's the feedback mechanism?
Oh yeah, so every trip is so there are multiple feedback mechanisms. So every trip, at the end of the trip, is being rated. Apart from that, we run a very strong control over quality, in the sense that every car which is moving out of the charging hub is very well sanitized, is very well cleaned. We have a absolutely zero tolerance policy with the driver partners around cancellation. So if a driver partner cancels, you will be ensured that the driver partner is not there on the platform the very next day. So we have put in a lot of checks and balances to ensure that the quality of the BluSmart ecosystem, of the quality of the BluSmart app, the cab experience, the driver experience is always top notch.
This no cancellation policy really, really takes my vote, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are also sort of happy with that sort of, a policy coming in on a ride-hailing platform. But moving on, so your balance sheet actually shows that your business has only grown since, FY20 to FY 2022. What's the projection you're looking at this fiscal? If you could just share some numbers with us.
Sure. So like we mentioned, ma'am, over the last 3 quarters, we have tripled in size. Our current revenue run rate is about close to 300 crores. We expect that before the end of the year, our revenue run rate will cross the 1,000 crore mark.
1,000 crore mark. 1,000 crore mark, that's really, really ambitious. But last few questions, sir, before we let you leave. I want to talk to you about famed subsidies because this is in news. Everybody is talking about it. There was also sort of a lot of back and forth between EV players and, of course, the ministry as well. Where do you stand on the issue of subsidies, and for how long do you think the EV market at this point in time can move without subsidies?
In my opinion, I think that subsidies might be required for the next couple of years. In fact, in one of the public forums, we recently spoke that government should actually inform the de-rollout plan or when the subsidies will go to zero. See, today the EV sector has three benefits. Our GST rate is 5%. We get a FAME subsidy, and there is maybe some state governments which offer registration free of cost. So these are the three subsidies that are being offered to the EV sector as of now. Of course, any sector cannot perpetually thrive on subsidies, and my opinion is that slowly and gradually these subsidies need to be removed. And I think if the government can give out a clear indicative plan which says that how in the next 2-3 years these subsidies will get weaned off, I think we as entrepreneurs will be able to better plan our business, and we will be able to better plan the finances around it. So I think every year, in my opinion, if the subsidies can come out and in the next 3 years go to zero, actually, I have seen that when subsidies go to zero, the sector actually thrives more. So I'm very happy with the fact that if we can have an indicative roadmap of how the subsidies over the next 3 years are going to tend to zero, I think the sector is doing very well and can survive on its own feet.
The sector is doing very well and is surviving on its own feet. And you say that you have seen sectors thriving better when subsidy is tapered off, although eventually and gradually. But really, what makes you say that? Because there are some industry players that say that, we need subsidy to grow to meet the government's target of reaching 30% electrification by 2030. In fact, we also saw in the past few weeks when subsidy was taken away from some of these EV manufacturers, this actually led to rise in pricing of electric vehicles.
So, ma'am, I've been a clean tech entrepreneur all my life. The business before BluSmart was a solar business. In 2010, the government actually waived off the subsidy from solar projects, and you see the solar sector today becoming 10 times more larger than what it was there in 2010. So similarly, people have to live without subsidies. People have to understand that subsidies cannot be always permanent. Subsidies are only a way to kickstart the sector. The sector has got kickstarted. We are not advocating that subsidies be going to zero tomorrow. But over the next 3 years period, if any business is real about their finances, if they are real about their P&L accounts, real about their balance sheets, they have to plan for a future which is without subsidies. You cannot have a business plan which is solely dependent on subsidies. And as an entrepreneur, I would never make a business plan which is 100% dependent on subsidies. And I would urge all my fellow entrepreneurs in the EV ecosystem also not to do that.
Okay, you will urge, Mr. Jaggi, all your fellow entrepreneurs not to rely completely on subsidies. So that's the big news, perhaps, that's coming in from an EV player. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Startup Central. We appreciate you giving us time and speaking to us, especially, like I said, during the beginning of this chat, you're in transit. Thank you very much, and we hope to speak you very soon on this issue and a whole host of other issues in the EV ecosystem. But for now, we